Welcome to Tommy Teaches Taxes in episode 4 of Crazy Weird Tax Deduction, the Organic Food Deduction. Let's get into it. Organic food is incredibly expensive. You can pay up to 60% more than non-organic food. If we take a look at the average American household, groceries tend to be from $300 to $500 a month depending on where you live. If you add a 60% bump to that, and we extrapolate over the course of the year, you're looking at a $6,000 to $9,000 bill on your organic grocery bill alone. Now that's a lot of cheddar. Now if you're going to pay that kind of money for groceries alone, don't you think the government should help you pay for it? But how do you do it? Where does it go on your tax return? If you're going to be able to take the deduction, how much can you take? What kind of documentation do you need to substantiate this deduction? I'm going to tell you all that and more, giving you the exact recipe you need to take the organic tax food deduction. Before I get into this, you might be thinking, didn't you tell me last week that food, living expenses were not deductible? I know, I did, but that was business deductions. What we're going to be talking about today is the medical deductions, which is a whole nother world of tax deductions. So with that, let me tell you a story. Janet Walker fought medical issues her whole life. In fact, she was actually forced to move to Arizona in high school to help her with asthma and arthritis. But it didn't stop there. In the same time period, her neck started to swell, and she was misdiagnosed as having throat cancer. The treatment that she received actually left her disfigured. Even with constant care, she still continued to decline. And they didn't know what to do just to keep this poor woman alive. By the time she went to meet with an allergist, she was under 85 pounds. Now, when she met Dr. Theron Rudolph, not only was she well under 85 pounds, but she was dealing with a load of medical issues, including nausea, bronchitis, cold, headaches, vomiting, swelling of the throat, and including at times she would go unconscious and have to be immediately hospitalized to recover. Dr. Rudolph's determined that Janet Walker's issues were due to environmental contaminants and have an extreme sensitivity to them. The only thing that she could do is to control these as much as possible, and the first thing he recommended was getting on an all-organic food diet. Theron and Janet quickly got married in 1954. What? Yeah. They got married in 1954, shortly after their first meeting. And who said there wasn't romance in tax court? This story is old as time. I mean, that's how I got my wife, right?
Rand.
Although not as serious as his new wife's, Janet's, issues with environmental contaminants, Theron had issues himself. And so they made the decision together to try to free themselves of all environmental contaminants to live a happier, healthy life. One of the first things they did was actually move to an area free of herbicides and pesticides. The second thing they did was get an all-organic food diet. But of course, the cost of food was extremely expensive, and at the time was actually double the cost of non-organic food. Fortunately, due to their extreme efforts of controlling their environment, the Randolphs had a markedly improving health, especially Janet. I mean, she made a complete 360, complete 180. She did really, really well. That's amazing, right? We're so happy for the Randolphs. But unfortunately for them, the story turns worse, because they got audited in 1971 for their organic food tax deduction. In 1971, the Randolphs paid $6,156 on organic groceries, and they deducted half the cost of that as a medical itemized deduction. As all our stories go, the auditor completely disallowed it, stating, "Now you just trying to get yourself a deduction on your fancy ass food. I'm going to go disallow all of them," stating that they were personal in nature. Well, the Randolphs completely disagreed with the auditor.
Come on, tough guy.
So let's recap. What do we know right now? Well, the Rudolphs have an extreme sensitivity to the environmental contaminants in their life. One of which being food. The only possible recovery for them is to eat an all-organic diet. This organic diet is really expensive and has high costs associated with it. And also to boot, we know that the organic food is actually helping them recover and getting a normal, happy life. The only problem is their medical remedy happens to be a personal deduction. So, what did the judge do?
Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Then bring it down hard. Someday.
What are you doing?
Dance off, bro.
Of course. But why? Well, firstly, the Randolphs provided a wealth of information. They brought in one doctor and 3 other allergists that confirmed Dr. Rudolph's original assessment that they needed to alleviate the contaminants in their life by going to an all-organic food diet. There's a little known rule about personal items that can be deducted as medical expenses. Where an item is purchased in a special form primarily for the alleviation of a physical defect is on that is ordinarily used for personal, living, and family purposes, the excess of the cost of the special form over the normal cost of the item is an expense of medical care. So if we look at the Randolph's case, we can see that this is clearly what they've done. They bought a special form of a personal item, organic food. That organic food has a premium over non-organic food. And like we said earlier, it could be 60%, or in his case, even double the cost of traditional food. What's really cool about this rule is it can really transform any personal deduction into a medical deduction if, 1, what you're purchasing is a special form of the original product, and 2, it has a higher cost than the original product, and 3, it was medically recommended by a doctor. So this can really transform any sort of personal item that normally would be non-deductible into a deductible expense. Pretty cool, right? So let's say you bought a bed. That was a special bed that helped you with your chronic ailing back. And a doctor recommended this bed. And in fact, it was actually more cost than a regular bed. Well, the additional premium on that bed can actually be deducted. Or let's say you bought some special shoes for your fasciitis. You plantar fasciitis has been killing you. And the doctor recommended these special shoes, which are more expensive than regular shoes. Well, the excess on those shoes can be deducted as a medical expense. So where do you take the deduction? Well, it goes on the front page of your Schedule A, and there's no need to disclose what medical deduction you're taking like there was in 1971. Unfortunately, though, medical deductions seem to be only for those that have excessive, really terrible medical issues in that year. I've literally done returns where the medical cost was so excessive, they were dealing with some terrible, terrible issues that it completely wiped away all the taxes, and any taxes that they paid in was completely refunded. Which I'm happy about, because if somebody's dealing with that kind of level of medical care, they shouldn't have to pay taxes on their tax return. That being said, if you're somebody that thinks that they could take this deduction, I'm giving you the exact recipe that you need, that I would want my clients to have before we take this deduction. I want a doctor recommendation, a prescription, something from the doctor that says you need this diet, an all-organic food diet. Number 2, I want basically the same information written down and signed by you, stating why you need this diet and what kind of ailments you're trying to recover from. Number 3, I would like to see some sort of before and after, like before you started taking this diet, you were this way, and afterwards you feel much better. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I think the doctor's note would probably be good enough, but it would be just more evidence that you need the diet. Number 4, your diet is all or nothing. You can't be dabbling in this. Like, if your diet just says all organic food, you can't go and get some non-organic here, some organic here, and just do whatever. The diet is all organic food. So do that. Number 5, I want receipts. I want receipts for every organic grocery purchase that you have. And why is that? This is a crazy, weird tax deduction, right? So if you're going to actually take this deduction, we need more documentation than you'd even think about. More the better. Because if you ever get audited, I really want you to be able to hand over a packet that says, boom, this is why I'm taking the deduction. I have my doctor recommendation. I have a signed letter from me. I have before and after testimonials. I have all my receipts there ready for you. And it's an all or nothing diet. All right, guys, that's our show. I hope you learned a lot. I want to hear from you. If you think that you can take this deduction, or if you've already taken the organic food deduction, or maybe you have a personal expense that you're taking on return and you're getting some sort of deduction for, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. So please, please, please leave a comment down below. All right, guys. Of course, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next Friday here. As always, much love.